Hey everyone, this is Miss Bierman and her baby brother Abe. And today I'm going to use this picture to talk to you all about pronoun case. Now I talked about this a lot in the last video where we talked about the different kinds of pronouns. We talked about object pronouns and then we also talked about subject pronouns. And we talked about how you could figure out, do I use a subject pronoun? Is it before the verb or after the verb in the case of the object pronoun? Now, a lot of you all were like, Ms. Bierman, this is super, super easy. And in fact, that's what you wrote on Edmodo. You said it was really, really easy. And you're right. Pronouns are really easy. But there are a couple instances where it can get a little bit tricky or a little bit confusing. And that's if you're talking about more than one person or more than one thing. Now, in this picture, my baby brother and I were both at the beach. And if I wanted to write a sentence that Abe and blank are at the beach, do I use Abe and I are at the beach? Do I use Abe and me are at the beach? It can get a little bit tricky. And in fact, this is something that showed up on the last interim. For this question, I had at least 2 people in each class raise their hand and say, Miss Bierman, none of these work. And then I had an additional 1 to 3 people in each class raise their hand and say, Miss Bierman, all of these work. I don't know what goes in this blank. Now, there are a couple ways you could figure out which pronoun to use. One is you could remember, my handy dandy chart. And I remember that subject pronouns go before the verb, and the verb is are going, so I need to pick a subject pronoun, and there are no subject pronouns on this except for she, so it has to be she. And in fact, some of you might solve this question by doing just that, okay? Those are people who are really into math, they like logic, okay? They might go into engineering. But there's another way to do that if that's not the kind of learner that you are. And this trick is really, really simple. When you're not sure which one to use, when you're a little bit confused, just fill in the blank. Pick one of these possible answers, plop that right in the blank, and then say the sentence to yourself and think, does this make sense? Is this how I would say this in a conversation? So let's try it with this. Alexandra and blank are going to the movies. Fill in the blank. Alexandra and us are going to the movies. Us go to the movies. Do we say us go to the movies? Not so much. Alexandra and me are going to the movies. Me go to the movies. Do we say me go to the movies? Not unless you're 1 year old. What about him? Alexandra and him go to the movies. Him go to the movies. No, not so much. Alexandra and she are going to the movies. She goes to the movies. Yeah. That one sounds right to me. So I plopped all of these possible answers into the blank. I said the sentence to myself, and this is the only one, D, she, is the one that makes sense. You can do this with other questions too. If you're not sure, just fill in the blank. Anna walked home with Ellis and blank after school. Walked home with Ellis and me. Well, that sounds right. You know, I can walk home with someone and someone else. Me, I can walk home with me. Yeah, that sounds right. What about this one? Anna walked home with Ellis and he. Walked home with he. No, not so much. Walked home with we. I walked home with we. Not really. Walked home with I. She walked home with I. No, that one doesn't sound right either. So the answer to this is me. I filled in the blank with all the possible answers. I said the sentence to myself and I thought, which one sounds the most correct? Which one makes the most sense? And you can use this again with a lot of different types of questions. So for example, with this question, Amaya knew that Tyrone and Cameron were going to the party. I'm just going to fill in the blank. Amaya knew that we were going to the party. Well, that one could work. She knew that us were going to go to the party. No, not really. She knew that they were going to the party. Well, that could work. She knew that them were going to the party. I can fill in the blank to get rid of 2 obviously wrong answers, B and D, and then focus my attention on which one of these two correct ones I could use. And then all I would have to figure out is, well, it's just Tyrone and Cameron. They don't say anything about Miss Bierman. They don't say anything about I or me. I'm not going with them. So it can't be we. I'm not involved. Amaya knew that Tyrone and Cameron, they were going to the movies. That's the only one that makes sense. And I figured that out by just filling in the blank and restating the question. So if you're ever confused about I or me, he or she, him or her, you're not really sure which one to use, just think. Fill in the blank. Abe and me go to the beach? Me go to the beach? That's not right. It has to be Abe and I go to the beach. I go to the beach. When in doubt, fill in the blank.